Brooke, what's the mission of Wild Skies?
Our mission is to rescue, rehabilitate, and release raptors, injured raptors in Montana, and also provide education programs. And we believe it's our moral obligation to do so, because majority of the reason we get these animals in is because of human-related causes.
Okay. And why and when did you start Wild Skies?
I started Wild Skies in 2010 after the Grounded Eagle Foundation closed. I had been working for them the last 3 years that they were open. And it was pretty much my dream job at that point. And I knew I probably wasn't gonna be able to find anything as fulfilling. So I decided just to continue because there was a need and start Wild Skies, even though my background was vet tech, so the medical end of things, but there's, again, I said, a need and especially for education and the rehab end of things.
Great.
In our area.
And so how did you discover that you had this passion for raptors and birds?
It just kind of happened for me. So I went to school to be a vet tech down in Colorado, ended up moving to Montana. At that point, I was working with large animals, taking care of some horses on a ranch, came across some fledgling kestrels that we were concerned about because they were on the roadway. I ended up talking to the game warden, who introduced me to Ken Wolf up in Condon, who ran the Grounded Eagle Foundation. I stayed in communication with him for a few years, visiting, helping with local rescues. And then I just received a letter in the mail the spring of 2006, offering me a full-time paid position as his assistant.
Oh, great. So why don't you say what a raptor is? Because not everybody listening may even understand exactly what a raptor is.
They're predatory birds that rely on catching prey to survive. So they have sharp talons to catch the prey, hooked beak they hold it with their feet to tear it up. And they all have really good vision, exceptional vision, actually.
So on average, about how many birds do you take in on an average year?
For the past several years now, we've been admitting around 100 raptors, and we've been able to release, it's usually around 60% of those annually. Last year, we released 54.
Okay. So some of them, obviously, their injuries are too great for them to survive.
Right. Like if sometimes we get, just the DOA, so they're dead on arrival, or the bird ends up dying. Sometimes their injuries are just too severe. A lot of times these birds are out, in the wilderness or areas where they're not around people, so they're down for a long period of time before somebody finds them. And there's pretty strict laws as to what we're capable of doing, as far as depending on injury, like we can only release or transfer for education. Those are like our only two options.
Right. And you are pretty strictly controlled, right? You have to have a bunch of permits and so forth from the various agencies to be able to do rehabilitation.
Yes, we're permitted through U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So we have rehab permits. So we can legally pick up and transport migratory birds, including eagles. And then we also have special purpose live possession permit for education use.
Okay. What are the most common injuries that you see in raptors that come to you?
Common injuries, the common cause of injury would be vehicle collision, especially for the larger raptors. And of course, a lot of those traumatic injuries like that, we see long bone fracture, soft tissue injury, that kind of stuff. And then we also see window collisions, so those kind of head injuries a lot of times, or shoulder injuries. Lead poisoning is a major issue that we deal with eagles in particular. and
And
electrical.
the eagles that are getting poisoned by lead, where are they getting the lead?
It's spent ammunition. A lot of times it's from, we start seeing it during the start of hunting season. And then when things reemerge in the spring, carcasses that have been buried all winter, we tend to see an additional spike in the spring sometimes.
So is there an alternative to lead ammunition?
There is. Copper is a really popular one anymore that people seem to be turning to. And from my understanding, I personally don't hunt, but the people that have chosen to switch, they says is just as effective for taking down large game.
Great. Yeah, because I would imagine that the lead, if lead is in a carcass, it's getting into any kind of animal that feeds on that carcass, and potentially humans who are eating an animal that's been shot with lead bullets or ammunition.
Yes, and it affects all species. Anything that eats lead is going to be affected by it in some way. The studies have shown that it does more readily affect children, like human children with brain development and that kind of stuff, neurologic. But with raptors specifically, their digestive juices are stronger than ours, and so they break it down quicker, more readily absorbed into their system. And we're over 100 pounds generally, and these guys are 7 to 12 pounds on average, something like that.
So they're getting a lot of lead. Now, yep. I know that you also do work and collaborate with RaptorView Research Institute and other wildlife biologists. What does that work entail?
We're subpermitted under RaptorView to band the raptors, including eagles, that we release. So it's actually been 10 years now that we've been putting bands out. In more recent years, we started doing the color bands on bald eagles and osprey. And this past year, we've actually been able to put out some satellite transmitters, which has been pretty amazing experience. Getting to watch these birds' movements and seeing that they're surviving after being in rehab. This past winter, we had 5 eagle resightings, so that was really exciting for us to know that we're doing good by these birds.
Yeah, so you're actually collecting data, being able to collect data on their survival, which contributes to the larger research questions.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Brooke, you run this whole organization. I know you work 24/7, 7 days a week, almost never take a day off because you can't, because you're taking care of all these birds. Mm-hmm. How does Wild Skies support itself?
So we have a couple of foundations that have been helping over the years, and then besides that, it's all private or donations or individuals in the community.
Great, and that's one of the reasons why Msla Gives is so important, because it's a chance for people to support your work.
It really is, and we've over the years that we've been doing it, it keeps increasing, so that's a thrill for us, just to know that the community does appreciate what we're doing.
And besides doing the rehabilitation, you also do some educational programs, do you? Training and teaching people about the relevance of, or the importance of raptors in the ecosystem and how they need to be protected?
Yes, so we do on-site programs, and we also, well, up until last year, of course, did school programs, outdoor events, that kind of stuff, where we take a few birds. And so we're traveling a lot. We'd like to focus doing more stuff here on site. We're creating a little nature trail, and just so we can start having more variety of activities that we can do with people.
Yeah. So you'd be able to do education programs right here. It would be less impact on the birds to be able to having to transport them back and forth.
Yep.
Much easier for people to just come here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good.